prevent deaths. Remember, people died from septicemia after operations, and he pioneered that both here in Edinburgh and in Glasgow. So he lived here in Charlotte Square here. And another person, a Canadian Scot, who's associated with the square, was Alexander Graham Bell.
Oh yeah.
Telephone.
Yeah.
And he was born in the house on the corner at the other side of the square there. The statue in the centre here, the man on horseback with all the folk round about him, that is a representation of Prince Albert, Queen Victoria's husband and consort, who died young, relatively young. And so there are statues to Prince Albert all over the place. Queen Victoria was absolutely distraught at his death, and she erected monuments to him all over. So that's one, and all the figures round about are his grieving family, of which they had many children. Queen Victoria got the nickname Grandmother of Europe because they were all married off to the royal families. Now this is Princess Street, and this divides the new town on the left to the old town on the right, and you've got the castle perched up there on its rock. It's perched up there on a volcanic plug. Very hard basaltic rock. You can see the flags flying, and we will be visiting and spending quite a bit of time at the castle. So you can see the tram lines are down here, but unfortunately they're not ready to roll yet. We had a very hard winter, of course, as well. I mean, we had almost a Canadian winter last year, and that didn't do the tram lines a lot of good. There was frost heave too. So it's been one engineering problem after another, and financial problems too. Now between us and the castle is a lovely garden called Princess Street Gardens, and during lunch hours, the folks who work in the shops and the offices round about like to take their lunch and sit in the gardens. Maybe not today, however. I think perhaps this is not the day to be sitting having a picnic somehow or another. Now, a lot of the buildings here have been replaced from the original Georgian buildings. We call them Georgian because it was King George, the Hanoverian King George, who was on the throne when Princess Street was built and the new town. But we still have some of the original buildings, and one or two not so appropriate, I would say. So that's the old town of Edinburgh on that slope beside us on the right hand side. And one of the nicknames for Edinburgh is the Athens of the North, referring to the Greek architecture. And the gallery here is typical of that style of architecture. And that's one of our national galleries, a free gallery. So this is a big shopping area, folks, Princess Street, and so is the street behind. On the right hand side again, we have a monument, slightly ahead of the coach, a monument to the famous Scottish writer Sir Walter Scott. And it's a kind of a rockety looking thing that you can actually climb up as long as you're not claustrophobic, and go right up to the top. It's all decorated with characters from Sir Walter Scott's novels. Novels like Rob Roy McGregor, Rob Roy. So Rob Roy will be up there, and the Fair Maid of Perth, all sorts. Ivanhoe, that was another one of his novels. He really was the father of the Scottish novel, the historical novel, and he was also a poet. He was born here in Edinburgh, but he spent most of his childhood in the countryside south of here, the borders. And looking on the left-hand side, this store, Jenner's, is a very well-known department store. Very interesting architecture too. It is based on the Bodleian Library at Oxford University. It's a copy of it. Quite a fancy general store. Now, when we've had our tour of the castle, Gary's going to drive us down to this end of Princess Street so that you'll be able to wander back and forward. The Balmoral Hotel on the right is a nice luxury hotel. And here is the centre called the St James Shopping Centre. Now,